It's time for a generic top 10 list that's disguised as a completely separate series. Woo! But really, I actually kind of put some effort into this, so watch it. Watch the video, the one that you're watching right now. Continue watching it. Woo! 10. Spelunky 2 is in a really weird spot for me because I look at it and I could tell that it's a game that was built with the utmost attention, care, and love. There's very little to no downsides. It's incredibly fun to play, the music is great, the set pieces are unique and interesting. It makes for a great co-op multiplayer experience. So you hold down, fuck off, don't. Awesome, don't. You fucking dare. Thanks. Fuck off! Thanks! This game sucks. By all means, this game shouldn't just be a 3 out of 5, and yet, I don't know. There's something about it. I'll say right now that I used the wiki and watched others play it a lot before actually getting into it myself, which I know can suck the fun out of roguelikes, Spelunky especially, but if I hadn't, it would probably be cast aside like when I tried to play the first game blind. Spelunky 2 is an excellent game, dare I say, one of those rare, perfect games like everyone else seems to think, but once you know all the secrets, it really just feels like you're throwing yourself at the same thing over and over again until everything finally lines up perfectly. And now that I've beaten it, I have very little reason to return to it. Regardless of that though, I had a ton of fun while I was actually playing it. Actually on my second channel there is a VOD of me actually beating it for the first time. You could see how fucking hyped I was. It was tons of fun. And honestly, there is something to be said about how it got me to actually beat a game in a genre that at the time I thought I hated. Super Mario 3D World is like Mario flavored crack. Does it have much originality? Do you take away anything after you're done? Is Wario involved in any way? No, and no. But the game is amazing to just turn your brain off to and play some damn Mario. Even if it's shallow, it's a fucking blast to play. I've heard tons of people rag on the complete lack of original content, and honestly, I'm glad to say that is gross hyperbole. I mean, there's carnival stages. In all seriousness, the visual and audio direction of the game is stellar. 3D World has some of my favorite Mario tracks of all time, and this is goddamn Mario we're talking about. The Switch port adding a 40% speed bonus, and then the dive from Odyssey, it just makes everything feel so much better. Just having that little extra bonus alone just adds so many more options, even if it's just something to throw out there, just to slightly lengthen your leaps or correct yourself mid-air last minute. While I haven't had the opportunity to have 4 people playing at once, I did get to play it with just myself and my sister, and in that regard, it was genuinely a ton of fun for multiplayer. Even if there was a noticeable skill gap, because I could just chuck her wherever I needed her to be. I do feel as if there's a bit of an unbalance between each character's abilities, Peach and Rosalina especially. They just add so much more compared to the other 3. There's no real reason to choose anyone else, unless A, someone beat you to them, B, there's a character-specific switch. Oh, great. God, I love when games are designed. Or 3, you're going for true 100%, meaning you have to beat every stage with every character. Or you're just a fucking masochist who likes running off the edge with Toad. 3D World was the one Wii U port that I wanted the most since the launch of the Switch, since I never actually contracted Wii U honoritis, and honestly, now that we're this far into the Switch's life, I'm still happiest about this one being ported over everything else we've gotten so far.
8.
Terraria feels like the programmers were playing Will You Press the Button for every piece of content that they added. Alright, add Rod of Discordance, but it has a 0.1% chance to drop. Yeah, sure, why not? Have one of the most fun and balanced magic classes in any action-adventure game, but have two of the other classes be absolute dogshit to try to actually play. Yeah, sure, why not? Mario and Boulder? What? Yeah, okay, sure, whatever, yeah. Mario. I have a lot to say about Terraria. Enough that it will be its own video eventually, so I'm gonna try to keep this short. Despite the horrible RNG and quality of life stuff, like seriously, I kept thinking to myself, oh, I wonder if I could, no, probably not, that'd be too convenient, and then I end up being right. The weapon variety, the boss fights, the events, building things, the housing management, the sheer variety, and how you can choose to progress. All the cosmetic stuff, and even just the flavor text of items, it's all fucking top notch, and it keeps me coming back for more again and again. Before Terraria, I don't think I have ever started playing a game again immediately after beating it, twice in a row. The balance of slow moments to progression to bosses to researching how you want to approach the next cycle of the gameplay loop, it all feels so goddamn good. And there's always something for you to do that fits your mood, whether you're absolutely brain dead and just want to run out the clock until you have to sleep, or your mind is going a trillion millimeters a second and you want to do calculus in one hand while solving a Rubik's Cube in the other. Terraria has it all, and does most of it well. Yes, I'm counting this as a separate game, shut up. Bowser's Fury is, I think it's safe to say, everyone's favorite surprise that came from the gaming industry in 2021. It's a fucking 3D Mario game, what do you even want me to say? It's halfway between Odyssey 2 and Galaxy 3 in terms of design, meaning that each individual objective is more linear and compact, leading to every cat shine feeling extremely polished and fun, while still keeping the open world sandbox by shoving all the challenges into a big area that you could explore at your own will. Thematically, it doesn't really add much that we haven't seen before. Ice level, lava level, floating platforms, beaches, cats. Regardless of that though, it still feels wholly unique in terms of what you're actually doing. And its soundtrack has its own flavor, and albeit still taking inspiration from 3D World, that feel right at home both in-game and in my playlist. The only genuine criticism that I can think of is that if you don't own a Bowser amiibo, waiting around for Bowser to get pissed so he can break these blocks can be a bit annoying, especially if you left most of them till a late game. Speaking of Bowser, I don't think I've ever seen a reptile so absolutely livid before. No, I have not watched any Godzilla movie. But seriously, barring a couple too many refights, these boss battles feel really fucking good. Mostly due to the fact that a resourceful player can actually counterattack instead of just waiting for the typical glowing weak point to show itself, and also partially because stomping around this no longer massive world, passing by the islands that you were just climbing like they're just playsets for creatures far lesser than you, as you stare down the series' most threatening form of the most threatening villain, and pawing him with your little kitty paws. It's kind of its own weird flavor of badass. In terms of 3D Mario games, Bowser's Fury ranks pretty damn high, and then you remember that this is in fact just a free bonus to a port of another game on this same list, and Jesus Christ, what do I even say? A free side campaign that stacks up so strongly that it's being judged as a full-price standalone game and still holding its own against some of the best games ever made. It may be a bit late to answer this question, but for those of you that are debating whether to buy 3D World just for Bowser's Fury, yes, do it. Besides, I mean, it comes with a free copy of 3D World.
Dominated, short pants!
I think Risk of Rain 2 is a pretty alright game. Wait, what the fuck? No, genuinely, I am so lost. I don't get it. Why do I keep coming back? It's like an addiction. I just get these cravings. I can't go a week without playing a run or two, even though they always end disastrously. Is it the combat? It's good, but it's nothing stellar. The visuals, sure, looks good and unique, but nothing stunning once again. The items, they're amazingly designed, and every item feels entirely unique and has its own place and stands out on its own, but very rarely is just one single item on its own gonna substantially change the game feel. Well, I guess that means it could be the power trip from snowballing off of lots of items, where just looking at enemies is enough to cause them and any other standing nearby to explode. But even when you are wielding the power of 1,000 suns, the game can and will just decide you lose because you failed to notice a single elite enemy floating directly behind you. So it's the tension then, right? Constantly needing to manage your time and balance it with efficient spending and looting. I'm not so sure about that. I can't even handle a glass being too close to the edge of the table. How about movement then? Sure, it feels great to play loader and fling yourself across the entire map in seconds, or bandit, being able to disappear only to reappear directly behind the enemy and then instantly melt them, or even Huntress, constantly blanking around enemies so fast that you can barely even target you. Or maybe it's the character abilities in general. Everybody has an entirely unique playstyle and feel, with specials that, for the most part, all feel amazing to use individually and in tandem with the rest of your kit. Or maybe it's that, combined with the exciting combat, the time and currency management, the great items, the snowballing, the way that every single map, enemy, item, character, ability, song, challenge, and even run feels entirely its own, with every single possible variation being fun and exciting, or how there's almost always something more to work towards, whether you just installed the game and can barely hold a controller, or have hundreds of hours and know the entire Wikipedia by heart. Yeah, I don't know, it just doesn't add up, and I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Axiom Verge has this amazing way of simultaneously investing the player in its world while still keeping them feeling entirely lost in both gameplay and story, which, as a Metroidvania, makes it a really damn good game. I'm not normally a fan of feeling lost, but this is a different kind of lost. There's very clearly key points of interest and a map that's easy to navigate room by room, and there's a cohesive surface level plot to help guide the player along, but as soon as you dig past the surface, you unleash this unrelenting maze of game-bending mechanics that hide secrets in unimaginable spots and a spaghetti mess of conflicts and different points of view and deception that makes every data log you pick up important, as each and every one of them twists the entire narrative into a new perspective once again. This world is so good at stringing along the oblivious into the basic path chisels out for them before they even arrived, and being incredibly deceitful and convoluted to those who dare stray from what they're told is their destiny. It's a kind of loss that begs you to dig deeper into the rabbit hole and get yourself even more lost every single step of the way, just to make some sense of, anything that's going on around you. Nothing plays by the rules that you've come to expect from any game, and even if you do choose to stick to the path like they want you to, you can still see the cracks, the ugly, beckoning cracks that never stop pulling you off the path. But the secrets hidden beneath want to stay as secrets. Some of them really aren't too keen on being dug up. I personally couldn't manage to get 100%, which is rare for me in Metroidvanias because, like I said, Axiom Verge does not play by the rules. The weapons and upgrades that you get are unlike anything I've ever seen in a game. It genuinely feels like you're breaking the code of the game itself more and more the more you push forward. Axiom Verge provides a sense of being lost in discovery that even the namesake of the genre wishes it could achieve. But it feels tainted, like you shouldn't be making these discoveries. Someone, maybe even the game itself, doesn't want you to uncover the truth. But I personally invite you, the viewer, to come and try to do it anyways. I invite you to see how deep this rabbit hole can go. Titanfall 2 isn't a shooter as much as it's a first-person platformer with shooting segments. No, not you. Get the fuck out of here. At the time of playing it, it was easily the best shooter I've ever played, but because I love contradicting myself, it has little to do with the gunplay. Don't get me wrong, it's good. Really good, even. All weapons feel great to handle and entirely unique, and you're constantly encouraged to keep moving and swapping weapons, since you run out of ammo fast and you're rarely going to be able to find the same gun again once you leave the area you found it in. But really what makes Titanfall 2 so good is not just the movement, but the ways the levels are designed around it. Some of these environments and themes are ideas that I would never have dreamed of and really can be recreated in any other shooter or really game. And I am not exaggerating when I say that while I was playing the game, my jaw was dropped half of the time. I don't want to spoil too much, but between the assembly line and, well, this level, I genuinely believe that Titanfall 2 has some of the most creative and fun environments in any shooter, period. In fact, when I first finished it, I wrote it down as a 5 out of 5, but have since moved it down to a 4. I doubt I'll be making a dedicated video on Titanfall 2 anytime soon, and I have a lot to talk about, so just bear with me for a second. I already covered the level design, environments, and gunplay. The movement, especially combined with later level gimmicks, is exhilarating. This is one of the first shooters that I've noticed where the protagonist being a super soldier that can just mow down waves and waves of enemies actually feels really warranted. Because, well, the in-universe technology behind your huge movement capabilities is both expensive and hard to master, and that kinda reflects in the gameplay as well. Not that the movement is hard to get used to, no, but more so that no other games feel the same as Titanfall. No shooters give you this much freedom to use 3D space. Please go ahead and name which games make the player prefer walls for traveling as opposed to floors. Opening the game with a time trial training simulation is kinda genius. Right off the bat, it gives you a little playground to test out what is almost certainly a sense of mobile freedom that most audiences haven't experienced before, while simultaneously showing you how much you can seriously push the limits of the game engine by showing you some time scores that will certainly be out of your league your first time booting the game. Alright, enough about that. I've been ignoring the half of the game that the name comes from. Compared to just solo pilot, Titan gameplay is just okay. It's short-lived, but it's slow, and while you do get to play around with some decently interesting kits, it's still pretty jarring that these segments are supposed to be the main draw of the game. They do get a bit better once you get the Ronin, and it's not like they're unplayable trash, no, they're just okay. And, well, given that all the boss fights take place in Titans, you can probably guess my opinion on those as well. Off the top of my head, there are only like 2 of them that didn't feel too easy, and one of those just felt tedious more than challenging. The last piece of criticism I have is the story. The cinematography, direction, and drama all felt stellar. My actual gripe with it is that the plot itself is just painfully by the numbers. The ending twist was, while still really sad, just entirely expected. Not to mention the fact that the only interesting character was your Titan, and by interesting I mean having any sort of personality that sticks out from the crowd of mercenaries, bandits, war criminals, and soldiers. As I'm writing this script, I can't even remember the name. I think it has a B in it, starts with BT? BT bunch of numbers. Really though, these downsides aren't offensive by any means. More so just missed opportunities or areas for improvement for what I hope will be a Titanfall 3, but it seems for now that Respawn is much more focused on Apex Legends, which, really, who can blame them? Seriously though, if you mildly enjoy any sort of shooter or platformer at all, do yourself a favor and get Titanfall 2. For the single player campaign. I must stress, play it for the single player campaign. The less I say about the beginner's guide, the better. It's a narrative-focused walking simulator that feels kind of like a YouTube documentary about a dude who used microgames as a form of diary. It's over in about 90 minutes and sticks with you for days, weeks, months after you finish it. I'd especially recommend this to you if you or someone you care about struggles with depression. And if you have any doubts about it being ranked so high, well, go play the game for yourself and see why. Hey, remember like 30 seconds ago when I was talking about Titanfall 2 being the best shooter I've ever played up to that point and how I've never experienced a shooter with such good movement before? Yeah, welcome to ULTRAKILL, where all that can be thrown out the window and forgotten because this is actually, genuinely, the best shooter, period. It's like the developers played modern Doom games and thought to themselves, yeah, okay, this is alright, I guess, but what if we did this, but actually made it good? Alright, killing demons into hell, yeah, I could see that. But hey, don't you think there should be more demons that look a little bit better than just masses of meat and blood shaped vaguely like a human? Add more variety in there, less fodder. Every demon has their own unique abilities and is clearly visually distinct from each other, so even if you crunch it down to just a few pixels on the edge of the screen, you're gonna know that that's the guy who shoots projectiles in a random spread in your general direction. Alright, next. Hell, what is this? The final world of a Mario game? How about we actually theme things around the 7 deadly sins and the 9 circles of hell to give more visual and audio variety to the player's head holes? Next, come on, you call this a movement shooter? Let's give the players the power to bounce off walls, stop on a dime, and launch themselves wherever they want while rewarding them to do so with a point system, and give it enough depth that it feels like something that you really gotta practice and master in order to just keep up with the campaign. Level designs, way more compact, hardly ever open skies or fields. The action is right there in your face, so you gotta choose to be the action or become the action. Secrets, pack them everywhere. Add challenges to each level that are entirely unique and based around what makes that level unique. Boss fights, intense, challenging, unforgiving, but not unfair. Weapons, with gimmicks that feel right at home while still feeling special, both within the game and compared to other games. And just to cap it all off, why not add a grappling? Oh fuck, the game's not even finished yet? Psychonauts 2 took one of the most unique and creative games ever made, and then gave it a AAA budget, polished it all out, refined the mechanics, fixed up all the sour spots, and then cranked everything else up to 11. Again, I could talk about these games enough to make another full-ass separate video, so I'll try to keep it as brief as possible, but hey, this is the #1 spot. Okay, first let's talk about the main gimmick of the game, going inside the minds of others. That alone opens up a whole new Pandora's box for creative and unique level design since you're no longer bound to following the laws of the real world. And yeah, what can I say? They sure did make some of the most creative levels I've ever seen, platformer or otherwise. But that alone isn't what makes the gimmick so good, no. See, Psychonauts 1 missed out on a lot of potential of exploring the minds of others, specifically the part where you experience and sort out a character's memories and trauma and mental illness brought to physical and metaphor form. Psychonauts 1 mostly saved the trauma for the final level and let the rest of the game be filled with the mentally stable and the downright insane. Not that that's not a valid form of mental illness, it's just much harder to care about most of these characters when their struggles are far from relatable to the average person. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. Psychonauts 2 deals with the kinds of mental illness and trauma that's downright commonplace in today's world and humanizes it and rationalizes it. We're given so much more context to who everyone is as a person, outside and inside their own minds, which helps so much in bridging the gap between the player and the characters, really making you feel empathy for everyone and giving you a reason to want to help them. Psychonauts 2 does what so many other studios are too, afraid, ignorant, greedy to do, and shows the very real dark side of the human mind. Not in the evil sense, but in the sense that the brain is an organ, the most complicated one by far, and sometimes things can go wrong, and sometimes mental illness develops, inhibiting or changing our actions, making us miserable or terrified or maddeningly regretful, and it shows it in an accurate way that it happens to so many people, regardless of where they stand in society or the lives that they lived, and that it can, and to a degree does, happen to everyone. By giving mental illness and baggage physical form, it helps show what it's like to those who are unaware, either because they've never gone through it or because they just can't put a finger on what the hell is going on up there. This kind of awareness is so rare in media, despite the world needing it now more than ever. And I am so happy to say that, even if we did live in a world where these kinds of topics were discussed more openly and more commonplace in media, Psychonauts 2 still does it in a perfectly smooth, comfortable, and genuine way, like the game is speaking to you directly from the souls of the creators, bringing it forth with a warmth and understanding and a desire to help, and making the game fun and comfortable for everyone despite the darker sides it treads upon. The soundtrack, similarly, is incredibly smooth and comfortable, delivered softly to the player, complementing the slow and thoughtful moments with chill, subtle jazz bars. And then also embracing the opposite side of jazz to create full, loud, and chaotic pieces to amp up the tension when things get crazy. Speaking of, the combat feels so good compared not only to the first game, but also to just platformers in general. You have so many options to you, but every enemy has a wildly different attack pattern that leaves different strengths and weaknesses for you to exploit and try to balance with all the other enemies on screen. Like a circus juggling act, if you will. This may raise a few eyebrows, but with how the roll works, if you decide to not use your psychic abilities, the game almost kind of feels like a FromSoft game. In the best way possible, of course. The game's not brutally crushing or anything, but it is genuinely challenging at some points. Unfortunately, I can't say that every boss is a home run. Compton's Cook-Off and the final boss felt especially weak to me, albeit both for different reasons, but that's like my one and only criticism for the game. I briefly mentioned it before, but the level design is genuinely a blast. I was never bored for a moment. It's unique set piece after unique challenge after unique combat scenario. The moments between the action are amazing as well, with little jokes and secrets packed into every corner and character in the overworld. I was filled with the strangest feeling of comfort exploring the hub, the entire hub, especially the questionable area. Not only for the side quests, but just to talk to the other characters and see what I could see. The characters, right? I don't know how they did it, but everyone feels so endearing and wholly human, and not just walking tropes. Oh, let's be real here, a couple of them kinda are. I love Sam and Lizzie especially. I'd totally invite them to my birthday party. Oh, okay, Jesus, this is supposed to be brief. Let's round things off. The story is so good, it takes you for so many turns, but with everything else in the game, it all feels so natural and smooth. The entire ending arc, aside from the final boss, it was so beautifully crafted. The twist genuinely shocked me, but it also made way more sense than anything else I thought could have happened. Holy shit, the diversity. We've got multiple important gay characters who are written how gay characters are supposed to be. There's also some hidden background dialogue that I found that also use singular they-them pronouns, which was awesome to hear. And holy shit, just the entirety of the Psyking sensorium, just all of it. If you played the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, let's wrap this up. Okay. We have had to wait 16 years for this game, and I am overjoyed to say that it was worth every single second. Psychonauts 2 goes above and beyond to reach godlike status, not just as a sequel, not just as a platformer, not even just as a video game, but as one of the most beautifully crafted pieces of art ever to bless this living hell of a planet. Do yourself a favor, and please, for the love of God, play the fucking video game. And with that, that's the end of the list. I greatly appreciate it if you watched it all the way through, or even if you just skimmed the parts that interested you most. I'm very much looking forward to 2022, both on and off of YouTube. And as we all move forward, I hope you come along with me, and I hope to see you soon.